In my estimation, Muhammad Ali is the greatest fighter to ever live. With his signature style, graceful but lethal, he danced and flurried. So light, he seemed to fly. So elusive, he appeared to vanish at will. Dancing like a butterfly and stinging like a bee, his talent was extraordinary. His feats, superhuman. His legacy outside the ring is just as, if not more, impressive. But without one, there could not have been the other. Because one thing about Ali, to me, the most important thing, is that under the bright lights of a stadium, the flashing bulbs of a press conference, or the harsh southern sun of a rally, he was wholly and unapologetically himself. It is Ali's refusal to stray from his beliefs, to alter his behavior, to tone down his attitude, to apologize for being born as the man that he was, that has been a constant source of inspiration for me, as a martial artist, and as a human being. In case you didn't see the community post, I'll be retiring from this channel in April of next year. And in the meantime, I have some final thoughts I'd like to put out about the man who's a big reason this channel became what it has. I hope it's not too overly dramatic to say that Ali's entire boxing style was rooted in his stubbornness, his unwillingness to deviate from what he wanted to express at that moment. It's this unyielding stubbornness that allowed Ali's playful creativity, coming up with absurd tactics like the Ali Shuffle. He was so confident, so in your face in the ring, that he drove his competitors insane. These boxers had devoted their lives to learning the rules so they could perform at their best. And here was someone breaking all of them during one of the most important moments of both of their lives. And, excuse my language, completely fucking killing it with so-called novice tactics. Ali wanted to circle the ring faster. A brand new boxer who wanted to do this might try to cross his feet before getting yelled at about fundamentals by their coach. But that's what Ali was doing at the highest level. Ali wanted what every outboxer wants, a longer jab. If someone with no experience thought about this for a moment, they might decide to lift up their back foot from the ground, or even hop off their lead foot, before getting smacked by their coach for bad form. But Ali used it to piece competitors up. Ali wanted a clear line of vision for counters. A complete newbie might try and keep his hands low before getting straight up knocked out by his coach, who's had it up to here, Jimmy! The point is that Ali got away with all of these things. I have so many breakdowns on exactly how he did this, which I'll link in the description, along with my books that cover his tactics even more in depth. But the point is, Ali found a way to get exactly what he wanted. Through advanced tactics, he got away with the dumb tactics that novices can't make work. It's like traveling around the entire planet and returning right back to where you started. But now, you're a different person. You know a thing or two from your journey. But his competitors didn't see this. All they saw was the fact that not only could they not hit him, but he was destroying them using tactics that would get you laughed out of most gyms. How could they not drive themselves into a frenzy trying to punish Ali for his brazen disregard for the art of boxing? How could they not try with everything they had to finally shut him up? How could they not overreach, punching too hard and too far, breaking the very rules they were furious at him for breaking? How could they not give Ali exactly what he wanted all along? The perfect opportunity to counter them. A lot of people think Ali developed his style the way he did because he didn't know how to box correctly, which is a bit ludicrous, but we're not all experts in everything. I'd probably sound pretty stupid if I tried to talk about NASCAR or something. They just veer right the whole time, I guess. For those that don't train, know that Ali absolutely knew how to box traditionally. You can see him do so earlier in his career, with a style that doesn't look too dissimilar to modern fighters. Ali learned how to modify the rules to work for him in a way that would work for few others. When he was told he could not do these things because it wasn't the right way to do it, well, he just completely ignored those people. And this is the highest form of any craft you can hope to reach, the highest form of mastery. As another hero of mine, Bruce Lee, espoused, it's about being wholly and authentically yourself. It's an expression using the human body, dancing to the beat of your own intentions. And in time, the brass champion would take on not one opponent inside the ring, but millions of opponents on the world stage. Ali gave up everything, and I mean everything, to protest the Vietnam War. He refused to be drafted, and his championship belts were stripped. But Ali famously made the point that he and many young men were being asked to give their lives, despite the fact that a very large portion of these young men did not enjoy basic rights and freedoms, from the country telling them they must defend these same ideals. Although he put it a bit more colorfully than I did. His decision put him at odds with the government, put him at odds against most of the nation, and certainly put him at odds against the boxing commissions who chose to strip him of his titles. Ali would stay outside of the ring for 3 years during his prime. He held firm, despite the fact that champions had always been kept off the battlefield. He didn't flee from battle because there was no battle to flee from. He gave up a comfy position that would have won over his detractors, and chose isolation and ostracization instead. How many can say they would give up all of their future earning potential, and let go of the dream they've been chasing their entire life for an ideal? For other people they did not know. I don't know much about the black experience. My great-great-grandfather was black, but I'm so pale that when I get sunburned and peel, rather than a tan, there's a lighter tone underneath, like a snake. But to begin to empathize with Ali, I can take the negative experiences of being a large presence on social media over the last 8 years and multiply that by 1,000,000. And in that way, I might begin to understand, get a small glimmer of what it's like to have a large portion of the entire population absolutely hate you. And I could only feel total and complete awe for a man who faces that challenge, shoulders that burden, and never once gives up. Ali's self-confidence inside the ring and his refusal to let others define his reality outside of the ring intersected in perhaps the most famous fight of all time, his bout against Big George Foreman, the Rumble in the Jungle. After he ultimately won his battle against a large portion of society, he regained the right to compete. After a loss to Joe Frazier, he won a string of tough fights, and he was set to once again face the champion. This time, George Foreman. George had been bulldozing his way through the heavyweight division, more feared than his mentor Sonny Liston, and more terrifying than Tyson would one day become. His fights ended quickly and violently, his almost casual demolishment of the competition creating an aura of total and absolute invincibility. Foreman destroyed Frazier and Norton in no time, men who had beaten Ali. The world expected the same thing to happen to Muhammad. But as most people know, Ali found a way, again bucking all conventional wisdom by staying put against the ropes and allowing Foreman to throw his best punches at him. Until Foreman got too tired and Ali was able to knock him out, shocking the world yet again. Ali refused to break, but he knew when to bend and change up his tactics and style. I have an entire video breaking down Ali's tactics here that I'll link in the description if you want to know exactly how he did this. But the important thing is that before Ali used the rope-a-dope, it was just about the last thing anyone on earth would have recommended he do. I first learned about this fight as a kid when my stepdad Wes showed me a documentary, and something about the story, it resonated with me. What I was too young to understand back then was that when a man becomes completely sure of himself and throws off the opinions of their detractors, they become almost a force of nature, able to achieve things those plagued with doubts and afraid about their place in the world, how others perceive them, are incapable of. Without his confidence and perseverance, he would have subconsciously given up before the fight ever began. And definitely during the fight, as he took shots from debatedly the greatest puncher of all time. While many painted Ali's expectations as delusional, they were based in equal parts on faith and reasoning. It's true, Ali admits that he didn't know he was the greatest when he first said it, but he no doubt suspected he could be. That's crucial. Ali did not become great through willing himself to be great in his head over and over. He didn't pretend and hope reality shaped itself to his wishes like a parent placating a crying toddler. He saw the highest limit of his potential, trusted himself to calculate what that was, and then aimed a little higher than that. It's perceptions based on experience, versus demanding that everyone and everything adhere to your ungrounded wishes. That's the difference between true confidence and grandiose entitlement. Fake it till you make it does not work during high-risk situations like a championship fight. Because the ring is real life. You can call it a metaphor, but it's more like a refined version of the struggles we face in everyday life. Sifted and ground down into the finest particles until every part of yourself is rendered bare for scrutiny. That's an overly poetic way of saying it shows what you're made of. When most people are tested, they're found wanting because they've taken the easy path their entire lives. I know by the way I'm talking you think I'm going to try to sell you some brain pills and tell you about how women are all out to exploit you, but I promise it's possible to talk about masculine ideals and be mentally stable, so bear with me here. Through his unapologetic individuality, Ali inspired people to take the harder path, and I was one of those people. I'm going to tell you briefly about a real fight I got into as a kid because of Ali. I was on a big hill with a group of friends at Dillon's Beach when a group of older boys showed up and told us we needed to get off that hill. On the way down, I thought of my heroes Bruce Lee and Muhammad Ali. I thought, would they back down? So I told my friends I was going back up. Only one friend was crazy enough to go with me. Now, to those bullies' credit, they had a kind of honor and the fight was fair and one-on-one. It was pretty lame, and I'm glad camera phones weren't really a thing back then. It mainly consisted of the older boy pushing me down and me getting back up to punch him in the face, over and over again. And this repeated itself until he decided he didn't like getting punched in the face very much and said they needed to head back for lunch or their dad would be mad. So they left. My friend and I stood proudly on the hill, hurling insults down at them. This is a stupid childhood memory that I still aggrandize as an adult. But not because I kind of won a dumb fight, but because I learned that if you stick to your guns, it's possible to triumph, even when things are not in your favor and everyone is telling you you're nuts. It's still worth it because of the principle, because your beliefs are part of who you are and who you wish to be. And that person, you, is worth fighting for. And without the influence of Ali, that memory may have become a shameful one. I'll finish by saying that it's easy to pick apart people and mention what they did wrong and why they should not be heroes. Ali made mistakes. He mistreated Joe Frazier, he went too far in his insults, he at times behaved irresponsibly, and he didn't always make the best decisions. He certainly didn't know when to hang up the gloves. But this was based in the same strength of self-belief that had always helped him do the impossible before. For a man who'd been able to conquer the world and defy expectations at every turn, for a man who had slayed giants and defied a nation, why would he believe that this was the time he could not achieve victory? People had been telling him that since he was a teenager, and every time they've been wrong. It's a fault that comes to haunt many great fighters, and a consideration in my decision to retire. But if your idea of a hero is perfection, then you're not looking for a hero. You're looking for a god. Heroes are human. They're not meant to be worshipped, but to provide inspiration. And one of my heroes is named Muhammad Ali. From the Modern Martial Artist, this has been David Christian, wishing you happy training.